My new book, Pillars for Life, A Guide to Spiritual Ethics and Practice, is now out and available for you to read and purchase. You can check out our website, willowhealing.org, to find a link, or you can find it on Amazon. We look forward to getting your feedback, and if you love it, please leave a review and share with your friends. Now it's time for the show. Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. Hey everyone, it's Catherine from Willow Healing, and I am here with John Napolitano, who is a Galactic Akashic Reader, a psychic, a medium, and a healer, and whose unconventional journey began as a US Marine, a police officer, and a filmmaker. So quite the array of things there, John. And following a powerful spiritual awakening in 2020, he began receiving visitations from galactic beings that catalyzed a profound galactic awakening. Through access to the Galactic Akashic Records, he now helps Lightworkers and Starseeds heal karmic patterns, awaken dormant gifts, and reconnect with their multidimensional origins. So a big welcome to the show, John.
Well, thank you for having me, Catherine. I really appreciate it.
So I have so many questions, but I feel like we need to start with the origin story. So there's a lot to unpack there in itself, right? So US Marine, then a police officer, then a filmmaker, and then all of a sudden Galactic Akashic readings. So do you want to unpack that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, I like to say that I've had multiple lifetimes in the same lifetime. It's just I've always been driven by service, service to others. So I remember from childhood, I've always wanted to be in the military, and I picked Marines because they're the coolest. And and then I wanted to be a police officer. And filmmaker actually was a surprise to me and everybody else. That I didn't really realize until I was actually in the police academy, taking photos, videos of our academy class training, and was like, I want a camera there. I want to light this. I want to do that. It was like almost like a natural. And so I left the police department after a few months when I realized like I wasn't being able to provide the level of service and help to others that I had hoped all my life to be able to do as a police officer. So I went into filmmaking, and I kind of actually used that as like almost like healing at times and a therapeutic. I would put out some of my stories as from the military, from law enforcement, and actually healed traumas. Now that I think about it, it's like I would heal some of my traumas on through my films and get it out there. I remember actually I was obsessed with zombies for the longest time, and the reason is because I was actually bit by a man on drugs, and like he was basically a zombie till he got up and was just violent. And so I always felt like I was attacked by a zombie. So I would make zombie films. Like I think I made them for 4 years straight. All the students got sick and tired of hearing about it, watching them.
What a healing process to do it that way too, because like you said, it's like playing out the trauma in every possible way, and you just took it to the next extreme to make it into an actual way for people to go, oh, I'm going to watch this playing out. And it's almost like completely taken out of your subconscious then, because it's like, oh, it's filmed now, it's okay.
Yeah. It's funny enough too. Everyone hopes, everyone says to themselves, like they watch The Walking Dead or whatever movies or shows, they're like, oh, I could totally survive the zombie apocalypse. And then I think about it, I'm like, I was the cop that got bit by the first zombie. I'm like patient number 2. Like I didn't even get to the apocalypse part. I was part of the apocalypse. I brought it. So it took some healing to get over.
Which I love that you're number 2. But
it happens.
So then how did the galactic beings first approach you?
Sure. So, it's actually been a journey as I recall some of the things. So I actually remember as a child, being led up by grays into their craft. Actually, my sister and I don't think she knows that yet, so now she probably will. We both were led as children up into a craft. I remember them like enticing us to go up there. They essentially used our free will, even as children, to go into their craft. This was through dream state, so they took our fourth dimensional bodies, our astral bodies, into the craft. After what happened after that, I don't know, but I know I've had a contract with them for a long time, longer than childhood. So when I started meditating and getting into like psychic development, just trying to embrace my abilities I've always known I've had, I actually I would meditate, and I would all of a sudden I'd start seeing these lights flashing in my eyes, and one day this gray alien just appeared above my, right in front of my eyes. My eyes were open during the meditation. We're both staring at each other, and I'm trying to feel like, is he trying to communicate with me? What energy is it? It's very neutral energy from him. And after a few minutes, we're just staring at each other. I tell him it's time to go because he's got nothing for me. I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. But a couple of weeks later, he comes back about halfway during my first psychic development class. And again, looks at me. I tell him to go. That night, I had a couple of disturbing dreams about the people I was involved with in the psychic development class. I think what they were trying to do is, I think these grays were trying to scare me off from learning more about my psychic abilities and truly opening up even further. And they don't realize, they must have skipped out in the last couple of years. When somebody challenges me, I usually say challenge accepted. So, they didn't really drive me off. So a couple of weeks later, I have another download. Actually, it's my first download that I know of. I see same thing, flashing lights. I'm like, okay, dude's coming back in. But instead, this time, I saw destruction, devastation, like this black tower encased in clouds, and then all these like documents with the crazy language on them just flashing in my eyes. So it was my first download, and I'm talking. The next night we have a psychic development class, and I asked my teacher, I'm like, "What is going on here?" And she's like, "You're an extraterrestrial." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "You're a starseed, incarnated extraterrestrial." I'm like, "That's a thing? Like that actually happens?" I thought, I had no clue at the time. So, I guess that was part of my first Galactic Awakening. And since then, I consumed all the history and, watched more videos and everything. And then one day I think to myself, is somebody holding a Galactic Akashic course? Like, I would love to learn more about it and learn to read the Galactic Akashic Records. And I did a quick Google search, and in a minute I found it. And it was actually, the class is starting within 2 weeks. So it was like the divine timing. I was like, exactly, like just popped in my head. I'm like, yep. So perfect timing. I started taking the class. And within a couple of weeks of taking the class, I found myself frequency hopping, dimension hopping in my sleep. Didn't know that was about to happen. What I realized is that was an attunement process to the Galactic Akashic Records, the new dimensions, the dimensions out there to me. And I'd feel like oh my gosh, I'm in the sixth dimension. It feels great. I'm light. It's like I'm in the air. I'm like, okay, let me go down. So I dropped down to like the fourth. I was like, okay, I could feel the difference. And then I go to the third, and it was like a crushing feeling. I'm like, nope, no, bring me up. Fourth, fifth, I don't care. So,
yeah.
And this was all happening. And then I'd start to look at people in like meetings or on the street. I'd be walking by, I'd be at a restaurant, look at someone. I'm like, why are they Assyrian? How do I know they're Assyrian? Why is that person a Pleiadian? They're vegan. That's an angel. That's a fairy. And I'm like, I'm just getting attuned to all these different frequencies. And I'm realizing like the Akashic records are open. Like I don't need to use the Akashic prayer to get in. It's just open. I clear, protect myself when I mean to do it. But for the most part, I walk down the street and I'm picking people, out of the lineup.
Yeah, and it's really funny when stuff like that happens because I've gone through things where, you level up in like a frequency or go to like
Mhm.
uncover another part of your psychic gifts and the gifts that you're bestowed upon you to serve in this life, right? And so for
Yeah.
me, like I had went through this meditation and the next day I was like, why can't I see the colors around everything? Like it was really weird. Like everything was like, it was like I was tripping out, but I really wasn't tripping out. And it was just
Mm.
trying to be like, oh, okay, this is what's happening. And it is exactly like you said, like it's that curiosity you had, right? That just kept
Yeah.
driving more and more. And that's what helps open everything up. So if anyone's curious about how to do all this stuff, be curious. That's the first thing, be curious and actually
Exactly.
follow the breadcrumbs. And I like too that you were talking about the history of galactics because I don't know if you found too, but it depends what perspective you read from. And I don't know if you
That's
found
true.
that as well. Yeah, because
Hmm.
there's so many different versions of the histories. And I've read like ones from Pleiadian, Lemurian,
Hmm.
like so many different ways. And it's really interesting how everyone has a different perspective and it's what resonates with you and what doesn't.
Yeah. What I often do when I tell my students, when I go through the history at first, I say, look, take what resonates with you, leave what doesn't behind. I'm starting to get to the point where I'm wondering if it's just we're receiving information based on our own values, our own thoughts, and that information is just created by the matrix we're living in, which gets a little too crazy and probably beyond the podcast here. But I'm starting to get to that point where I'm like wondering, why is this person saying this about the Pleiadians while I'm saying this about the Pleiadians? Are we just receiving different information in the matrix based on what source wants us to know at the moment? Keep everything kind of like hidden until the truth really comes out.
And I feel too, it depends on your galactic heritage too, right? Like
Mhm.
how things land. Because if you don't really like the Pleiadians, then you're going to, go towards more another message. And if you're more like the Vega, then you're going to go resonate more with that. And people listening are probably like, what are they talking about? Just Google different galactic heritages and you'll see. And
Yeah.
it's so funny because, I found this website and it's like, hey, put in your birthday and you can see if you're a
Mhm.
star seed. And so I went
Oh
through that
gosh, yeah,
process. Yeah, right.
yeah. How
But
much
it's
did you
not
pay in the
easy.
end?
I didn't pay
Yeah.
anything. I didn't pay
Oh, that's
anything
good.
because I
Okay.
figured it out myself. Yeah. And I
Oh,
went through and I went through and then I think it was Haldarian, I think I ended up being. And I got to this point and I was like reading what that was and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this has been my life. This is me to a T." And it
hmm.
was then extra soul memories started popping up too, a bit like how you were
Oh
saying
wow.
once,
Yeah.
you rejected the grays. Well, not
Hmm.
rejected, but it's almost like I feel like when you were sharing that story, that contract was broken because you weren't getting pulled back in to
Yeah.
whatever they were trying to keep you in.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think you're right. I remember when I was trying to figure myself out, I would look at all the different star seeds out there and what aspects, I'm like, well, I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm Syrian. Then I look at Pleiadians. I'm like, well, I kind of feel that way too. And then I'd be like, well, Andromedans, I really, I can really like feel for. And then I'm looking at Arcturians. It's the same thing. I'm like, come to find out, I've actually been in every planet just about. Like I think I've been in like over 1,000 incarnations, if not more, in the galactic realm, and I'm essentially in this life bringing them all together into the majority of of my energetic makeup. As opposed to some of the fairy and human lives, it's like majority extraterrestrial in this life, and it really it didn't get turned on until I essentially started going through a spiritual awakening and the Galactic Awakening process.
Yeah, and that's often when everything starts to drop together, right? It's like,
Mhm.
oh, no wonder I have an affinity to looking at the stars and why I feel
Yeah.
like home's out there and not here. And,
Mhm.
and those sort of, I can very much relate to this. I'm constantly looking for stars and being like, ah, yep, that's where I need to be, and
Yeah.
just moving from that perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. For years, I would have these dreams about the about being in like Starfleet, basically, and flying around in space. And I do love Star Trek. But I would be doing all this stuff, and then I don't know. I was thinking 2 years ago, I was doing a meditation in one of our classes, and all of a sudden, I see this guy. He's like, he has armor on, and he's like working a control panel on a ship, and then he's sneaking around. He has like a little phaser in his hand, and he's like sneaking around walls and looking. And I'm like, I'm starting to get the knowing, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like a parallel life of mine in the Pleiades. And I was like, go figure. So I've been seeing this guy for years. I call him Derek. He's like, call me Derek. And Pleiadians seem to have like some complicated names, so they're always like to me like, just call me this, call me that. So I've met a Bob who's a psychiatrist out there, and so Derek is mine, and he's like, just call me that. Anyway, he's out there doing cool missions, so he'll show me like bits and pieces of missions that he's done, like in Orion, sneaking around like all over the place. And then there's another guy out there who's in the Galactic Council. He's a little bit more shrouded in mystery. I think he's just like, he's a little more serious. He's kind of like I call him the big guy, so I haven't really figured out him too much, but he's on some big galactic council, and he's done some work with Earth. But I'm realizing what I do, part of my mission here is to actually send information back to the council, back to the Pleiades, and to the Galactic Federation, as well as to whatever this other council is that's like higher than the rest of them. And so when there's like a war on Earth or a big natural disaster, I'll be there in the astral, and then I'll find out about it when I wake up later. So in 2005, I remember I was on the beach, and all of a sudden these two giant monsters came out of the water from behind me, and just started tearing down buildings and throwing cars into the ocean. And when I woke up that morning, I found out that the tsunami in East Asia, or in Thailand, had taken place. And I was like, oh my God, I saw that. And I was like, why couldn't I see that sooner? But that's not my mission, is to like, I'm not the Nostradamus now. It's like, I'm not here to predict the future. I'm here to essentially observe and report in a way. So that'll happen from time to time. I'll just find myself in a war zone usually in the Middle East or somewhere else. And then I'm just reporting it back like, yep, we're at war again. Sorry, guys.
Which I find really intriguing, because your background is in that marine, that marine, and which it's not accidental, right? Like, it's everything.
I don't think so. Like my family, like, they're like, why are you doing this, John? Like, they got drafted. I'm like gung ho, like 5 years old, like marching down the street. And, I don't know. I think it's just this connection that I've always had, to Derek, my Pleiadian parallel, to the big guy. It's just get myself into the action, serve the best way I can. And now I found a new way of doing it.
I love this. So often when I channel, I have a star seed. I feel like she's Pleiadian. Her name's Delilah. For me, her name's Delilah. And whenever she shows up, I know she's come to talk about water, because so often, especially as humans, we do not drink enough water, and we do not drink enough clean water, because we don't realize how powerful water is in terms of purifying our body to get our DNA prepared. So if you want to go do the higher frequency work, you need to have this clear palette. So it got to this point, whenever she'd show up, I'm like, all right, I've got to talk about water. And they're like, and the person I'm working with, I wouldn't always say there's a starseed being here. It just depends, what I would land and that sort of thing. And they're like, oh, really? I said, yeah, I definitely need to talk about water, because she just kept showing up every time there was a message about water. And my spiritual mentor, she first came to her, so she gets her too. And we're both like, oh yeah, whenever she shows up, we just know we need to talk about water. And it's that aspect of health that needs to happen. Exactly. So it's like when you get those dreams, okay, there's something going on, I need to report it back. So it's just, you just learn these different signs. And the more you affiliate with them, the easier it is to hold the frequency and have conversations with them too.
Yeah, definitely. So they have sent me to like secret bases before. Like, I was in the CIA office like last year. I'm like, dude, you're going to get me in trouble. Like, I don't know how I'm not getting caught by like the CIA psychics, but like, I live in DC. They're around the corner from me. Like, no.
Of course you live in DC. You're in the heart of
Yeah.
it. I love
Go
it.
figure.
um, it's funny you say that because I was playing with remote viewing, and then anyone's curious about
Oh, you
remote
gotta be
viewing.
careful. Yep.
Yes. And
Hmm.
I was practicing it because I didn't know I was even doing it. It was just I was talking
Yeah.
to my mentor, and she's like, "It sounds like you're remote viewing." Anyway, and exactly what happened to you. I got pulled into this thing, and I'm like looking at it, I'm like, I'm not meant to be here. And I'm like, I am not meant to be here. I'm like, I got to get out of here as quick as I can. I'm like, I am not meant to be here. Like, I just pulled myself
Yep.
back out. And then the next night, I had this really symbolic dream, and it had like all these symbolisms. And then I woke up and I was like, I don't know why. And I had to Google this island. And then it was like this real place and all these crazy
Wow.
things attached to it. And I was like, okay, I need to set, some stronger boundaries before you go to sleep, because like you said, a lot happens in that like sleep state, in
Yeah.
the dream state. And a lot of people don't realize, if you're a light worker or here with a message and things, and you go to bed and you wake up exhausted, you're actually probably fighting a battle that you don't even realize you're fighting.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're fighting a battle or you're just out there. I know, thankfully, I actually get a chance to take action sometimes in the astral. And I found myself last year healing lands, actually. So I was like in these random lands, and like there's just a barren, and I would like, I don't know, I guess I just put my hands up, and all these like thousands of souls like would emerge from the land, and then like a portal opened like to the heavenly realm, and just like helped guide them and walked with them. So I think what I was is these what they were telling me was sites of like mass burials, mass executions from around the world. So, I was out there doing that, and just walking them out there. I think it was like 3 or 4 different places on the planet that I was sent to do that, at least that I remember.
I love this serendipity, because this happened at my office that I used to work at,
Oh,
and they were building next door, but they went down really far down to put like an underground car park. And then we had this angry spirit show up at our office. And when
really?
I say angry, I mean like I had like a jar on my desk for like, it was after Christmas, and it threw it across the room. Like all these things kept
Wow.
smashing off the walls. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have a ghost, and it's a very angry ghost. I'm just like, and so then I was talking to my colleagues, and they're like, oh no, there's definitely a ghost in here, 100%. Like, this is big weird stuff's been happening. And then our boss walks in, and we're like, there's a ghost. And he's like, no, it's just the building next door shaking the vibrations. And we're like, the vibrations can't throw things across the room.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I said, if you give me permission, I can clear it. And he's like, oh, okay. So it turns out that this angry ghost was from the site next door, because they dug down so deep that they'd shaken up old burial grounds, like you were talking
Wow.
about. So they were
Yeah.
really cranky. So then you would understand this, because spirit likes to put us through an initiation process when we do something new. So they're like, okay, take some salt, you're going to put a circle around yourself, and you're going to open a portal, and you're going to help these souls move on, much like you did with your hands, right? And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay, where do I do this? They go, you need to go onto the building site and ask for permission to be there. And I was like, what? Like, what? And so I left for work early. I had my salt, and I'm like, they're freaking out the whole way, going, these people are not, they're going to think I'm a loony bin. Like, there's no way I can do this. And then I parked my car across the road, and then I'm there going, why do I have to be on the site? Like, I can just pull them, like, I'm still connected. I'm like across the road. And then my guides were like, oh yeah, it's fine, you can just do it across the road. But I was like, of course you put me through that. You had to make me, like, because I was going to do it. So I'm sitting there across the road in my salt circle, and this line, John, of like hundreds of beings were just like, it was so long, and I'm just there holding this portal open. And the head of this tribe came up, and he was so angry. He's like, how dare they disturb me? I was like, well, you can stand to the side and with your tribe, that's fine. I said, I've got to get all these other souls, and I've got to go to work in 10 minutes, like move along. And then I said to him in the end, I said, you have 2 choices. You can stay here and be angry, or you can go home. And he's like, oh, okay. So he went through, and then everyone else went through. But it was, and then then only then could I remove the angry spirit that was in the office because it was so entwined with all of it. But it's so funny. I
Wow.
love that you shared that story because I don't think I've told anybody that about that
Oh, wow.
experience because it just had to happen that way because
Yeah.
as Earth is shaking up the frequency as well, these
Hmm.
old souls can't stay here anymore because their frequency doesn't align either.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, Earth is ascending, it's grounding itself into the fifth dimension, and we are too, but the Earth needs to be healed. And it's,
Exactly.
it's going to do it in its ways. And then, it's using light workers like ourselves to help heal the lands as well, whether that's from the traumas, the death, and whatever else, and bring those souls out of there. And essentially, I guess, heal and lighten the ground and the very Earth itself.
Exactly. And I love
Mhm.
that we've both shared that component because a lot of people they'll talk about a new world and a like we
Yeah.
have to go to the 5D, but we're already on that path. We're already doing
Yeah.
that. It's not a new world. We're just going to heal the world that we're currently in.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We're not going to wake up with crystals like attached to our face or anything like that. Uh, it's actually, I
You
had a
never
dream
know.
once. I was like, yeah, I was like covered in crystals. I'm like, what is going on? But it's like really what it is like, everyone out there listening, like you can do your part, like raising the vibrations, being transmutating, negative energy, but taking care of yourselves as well. It's interesting. I had a reading this morning, and then over the weekend when I was doing readings at an expo, I met two different people. Actually, it was probably more than that, but it was these two people that I told them, I'm like, you're like a filter, like one of those air filters, like negative energy like comes in and you just naturally and automatically like transmute it. And then it send it out as like positive energy, but you just need to take care of yourself as well while you're doing that. That way, like you can still be like a pure conduit to do this.
Exactly. And I like that you said to take care of yourself because so
Hmm.
often we get overwhelmed with everything happening in the world. But if you
Yeah.
can just look after your zone, it sounds really weird,
Hmm.
but if you look after your zone, that ripple effect will flow through to the rest of the world anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess this is a curious question. When you're working with people and reading their galactic Akashic records, how does then that translate into helping them heal or helping them to shift something in their life?
Sure. So, some people just want to know their records and like, what's my first incarnation? Where do I come from? Others, they do come to me with healings or we actually emerge something. What I've noticed from a lot of people who had lives in Orion and, fought in what's called the Black League, the resistance movement against the Orion Empire. Many of those, yep, yeah, exactly. Many, yeah, same here. Yep. So
Yep.
some people were Pleiadian military, helping on, fighting in there. Some were, actual Orions fighting. But what I found out is like the Orions, like the guys from the Empire, they hold a grudge. And a lot of people will have these contracts against them. And some I don't want to frighten everyone, but sometimes people are going to have trackers or implants in them or some kind of energetic cord. So actually, two people. Yep, I know, same, and you know. And some people,
It's like you're reading me,
so
John.
I know. So
Sorry,
it
continue.
happens every time. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
this weekend, two people in the same day, like they both came to me and they, were uncovering these, like both of them. One, I think one was, one had a couple lives in the Pleiadian military, and then in the resistance. Another girl had resistance. She was like a medic or something. And, both of them, like I'm looking at this one girl and she's riddled with trackers. And so we get it. We decided, okay, we're going to do a healing. We're going to, we're going to dissolve that cord with the grays. I was like, you're done. No more. That was part of the way. And then we're dissolving. you're probably familiar when somebody has like a traumatic experience. Sometimes the soul can fragment into like little shards and leave some of that, like a shard of that trauma where it was, whether it's on a different planet or different part of the earth, sometimes somewhere else in a different realm. So, for both of these people, we collected those traumas. And so, sometimes I'll ask, is there any more besides just this, Orion one? One guy's like, he's like somewhere in the Roman Empire. I was like, okay, I don't know what life this is, but they're telling me you got a shard over there. We got to bring it back, reintegrate your soul. So both of them were doing the same thing, dissolving all the trackers in them. The one girl, poor thing, she has like she had a portal above her head, and her crown chakra would right before it would receive any divine energy, the portal would just suck it up, and she wouldn't be getting anything. So while we're doing the healing, she's afterwards she tells me, she's like, I just felt this tension in the third eye. I'm like, well, that's where it was, the tracker, the implant. And so as soon as I dissolved that, she's like, it just felt like a release. And then same thing, like she just feel like the energy shifting in there. And she could feel that divine energies finally circulating through her crown chakra. So same thing, with the guy as well. So it's
Yeah.
just, yeah, I
So
mean, sometimes it's like that, I've found some, sorry, I'll let you go in a second, but, some, another starseed that I found this weekend, same thing. She does a lot of that transmuting of negative energies. The problem is I was looking at her energy system, and it was like the energy was trying to come through her crown chakra, but it wasn't. It was like it was a shape that wasn't like fitting through the hole. Like the peg wasn't going through the hole properly. So all I had to do was I shifted it, and it just went, right into her energy system, and finally like went through there. And she's like, oh my God, I felt the twist. And I was like, yeah, it was just, I just had to do like a little twist on it, and it's just finally like doing it. So, sometimes star seeds, they need to have like an alignment or a tune up, because the energetic DNA of their extraterrestrial isn't fully matching up and working properly with like their human DNA, or even if they have some fairy in them, they might not have that, all working together.
And I love how you phrase that too, because it's like pulling in those different fragments and realigning it. Because a lot of people don't realize that you do leave parts of yourself in traumatic experiences, and it doesn't matter which lifetime, and you really need to pull them all back. Even the shadow parts, you need to pull them back. It doesn't matter what side it is, and you have to learn to accept them. But I so resonate with the trackers and the psychic devices, because my first I went to a rebirth breathwork experience, and that was my experience. I was having psychic devices physically removed, and I had so many, and I actually felt the physical pain of taking them out, and I had to do that to help reclaim a lot of things that had been blocked. And then the experience that happened after that week, because they weren't happy, like whoever put them in was very unhappy that I'd undone all their good work. And then more came to light, because it was almost like they weren't activated till my psychic gift started to turn on. So as I took the layers off, then more and more kept coming. And then by then, spirit gave me a prayer or like a intention to set to help keep removing them as they came up. So it took a good 2 or 3 weeks to actually remove all of those things. But it was funny, because then I had was working with the client, and like you said, like there was a block above the head, and for her it was really a nice one. So I work a lot with shaman stuff too, because that's my kind of soul history. And so we called in her spirit animal, which was a big bear, like this big, powerful bear. And it just charged right through this block. And I'm like watching it happen. And she's like, she actually got on the bear's back and is holding on, closing her eyes, because she could feel the block coming. And it was just like charged through. And then once that happened, like you said, it's just like this magic alignment and allowing all these beautiful things to happen that it was just blocked. And, it's just because we are powerful beings. We are so powerful, and people get scared of that. And that's why these things happen, or things have happened in your past lives or parallel lives or whatever, one of your soul fragments. There's so many different timelines happening, and And that's why these things happen in place. It is not to be fearful of it. It's just to be mindful of it, because if you're consciously going, there's something blocking me, there probably is. And that can be like, your curiosity then can lead you to finding someone like John to work with, who will there go, yeah, actually there is. Let's attune that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's amazing. And, then we find out, like, you were talking about layers, like then a few months later or a year later, you find out, that there's something else going on. Like you had a soul put on, or a curse put on your soul like 10,000 years ago. And you're like, oh God, let's get that one worked out. And then, another one you find out, whatever. It's like, you put a block on yourself pre-incarnation because you were afraid of, one of your gifts and whatever, so it's like all these different layers, and just continually, it's a continuously evolving process.
Exactly. It's part of being human, right? Like it's like layer, 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 layer. Or even, they talk about the dark night of the soul, and I say it's round 1, round 2, round 3.
Exactly.
Because as you level up, the things come back up again, and you need to learn to work through those and shift those. And that's why it's so important to find people that you trust and who you can go to for support. Or if you're just curious to learn more about yourself, sometimes that can be the insight that you need to go to that next step of your journey too.
Yeah, exactly. And then what I realized too is as you're stepping into your purpose, you have to remove more of those layers, or they'll remove for you. I was taught that they were called veils. So you'd lose like a veil, or, you're doing work, and sometimes you lose like a ton of them. And, this happened to me twice this year. Like one day I woke up at a Reiki retreat, and I felt like I had a spiritual hangover. I could barely put a sentence together. I was just like shivering the whole time. And, by the end of the night, I had like 5 powerful psychics like surrounding me, like sending energy in, resetting my system, like all this stuff. Like I thought I was going through like, like some kind of like crazy ritual or something. I mean, just like they're like, you lost like 2.5 years worth of veils in one night. And, it's like just stepping into my power. So, and then it happened like 2 months later.
Oh my
Again.
goodness.
So
I'm getting goosebumps. I fully understand. So for me, I had a similar experience, but I was in a QHHT session, and she's like, and I was like a shamanic dismembering. So they took apart my whole body, like, and all that was left was my soul. And were putting it back together, and they got to working on my brain and my head. And it was so funny because they put up this picture of an ice cream truck, and they're like, hey, you don't need to see this part. Just watch the ice cream. Like, okay. So it's funny how it comes like different things, but it is true, like you said, when you go through like a massive leap, because it is a quantum leap, right? When you have that many veils, your body does weird things to try and recalibrate. And the shivering, I know from a vagus response, is like that animal shaking it out and resetting, because it is traumatic, because it's like, oh my goodness, like go, 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 go. And it was just perfect timing that you were surrounded by these people that could help hold you and get you through that as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then when it happened a few months later, I recognized what was happening. And I was able to reset my own energy system. And then I actually accidentally triggered my own dog's spiritual awakening. So she lost a ton of veils and got knocked out. So I had to reset her energy system as well, then mine. And then at night, we had to clear like hundreds of past lives. And I'm like in my sleep being thrashed around, and I'm like seeing all these dogs like in front of me. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And I just see them popping off. I'm like, okay, they're, until it was just my dog left. And I'm like, oh my God, I had to clear all her past lives. No idea why, but I had to. And then I hear, you're not done yet. And it's like, it's your turn. And then I kept getting like thrown around even more. And I'm, I could just feel myself, and I just see like hundreds of lives in like these honeycomb boxes, like in front of me. And they're like, okay, start clearing them. So they just bring them up in front of me. I clear, boom, do this, do that, do that. I'd send some to somebody else, like a different past life. I'm like, I can't do anything for you. You go to him, he goes to you. And now I clear up both of them. And it's just all this crazy stuff until it was like down to me. So,
Wow.
and that was just
Wow. I
human
just had an
lives.
image of you doing that. Yeah. I just had
Yeah,
an image of
that
you
was just
doing
human lives.
that.
I still
And
have, yeah, I still
yeah.
have
And it's like
thousands
that
of galactic
movie.
lives, and I'm like afraid of what that's going to look like.
There's see, just when you said that, I said, "Tell him don't to be afraid. He'll be ready for it when it comes."
I'm very afraid. I'm very afraid. Like it could happen at
Step
any
into the
moment. It just
fear.
hits you like a ton of bricks. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Oh goodness. I feel like we could talk on all day, but we need to
I love
finish
it.
this
Yeah.
up. So, so I asked the guests to come on the show, John. If you could heal or change something in the world, what would it be?
All right. I think I remember we talked about this. And when I was a kid, I stopped like wishing at my birthday for like toys or junk. I started saying like I wish for world peace. Kind of strange for like a 5-year-old to be doing, but I kept it going. I figured if I kept doing it long enough, we'd get some world peace. We're getting there. We're close. We're getting to that point. That's what I would wish. If I could heal. Ooh, yeah, I mean, if I could heal the world in an instant, that would be great. But how would we be able to learn from that lesson, though, if I just
Exactly.
took it all away? So it's about the journey, not the end result. So
Exactly. And how can people find you, John, if they want to come work with you or they want to connect with you?
sure, please come to my website, galactic-guidance.com, and on my website you can learn about a little bit more about me, and I set up an entire section about galactic history. And I also have a bunch of teaser readings on there, so you can listen in. The reason why I did all this is because I'm an educator first, and I really enjoy teaching people all about, whatever it is, like, galactic history, your own heritage. And the hope with this is that it would spark some memories, kind of like how you were telling me earlier. All these memories started coming through once you started reading about it. So I don't have all the big players out there, but I try to put all the main players. And so go ahead and look through everything. If you feel inclined to take a class with me, and or come through with come for a reading, I'd love to work with you.
Beautiful. And I'll make sure I put in the show notes how people can find your website and come connect with you. But John, this has been an adventure. I have loved this. Thank you so much
I
for
loved it
coming
too.
on.
Thank you.
And yeah, and I'm definitely, if anyone's curious, go find John. I love this.
Yeah.
I love your energy. And I'm like, yes, I
Oh,
can
thank
see
you,
all
Catherine.
these things. Yeah.
Oh, Catherine, real quick, what's going on with the vines on you? You have like vines, and it's almost like ivy. Like I'm tapping into like
I'm very,
elemental.
I'm
You
very
got like a lot of
connected with
fairy.
trees.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
it. All
very
right, so I'm
connected
like,
with trees. Yeah, yeah.
okay, I'm seeing
So
green. Yeah, I'm seeing like green around you, and it's not heart chakra green. It's like, yeah. I can see that. I'm like, why is she covered in vines right now? It's very odd. So, but yeah, you have like an elemental background. So.
I definitely do. I definitely do.
Mhm. And we haven't
And
even gotten
definitely I
into your
have
like galactic stuff. So,
I know, but no, I channel trees. So I actually have a book that
that's
I'm
awesome.
writing and I channel trees and connect with them on like a very deep level and definitely
That's
work with
cool.
the elementals as well. So that is what you're
That's great.
seeing. Perfect. All right.
I'm not going to let you go just yet because I got one story for you
Oh,
about trees. So,
oh,
a
tell me.
couple years ago, couple years ago, I decided to move to Hawaii for like 2 months. It was ridiculous. But while I was there, I went to one of the waterfalls, one of the most famous ones in Oahu. I think it was like Manoa Falls or something. So I went there and I went and meditated against some rocks and just really soaked it in and enjoyed it. Well, on my way back, I see this one big tree like in the middle of the walking trail, and I just like sensed. I had never talked to trees before, and I just could sense it was in such despair, and it was just so upset. And I was like, oh man, like I'm like I still like I don't feel comfortable giving you a hug because I'm still in that point where I don't want to be judged. But I was like, let me put my hand on you, let me put my hand on you and send you some Reiki, send some love. And so I did that. I put my hand on it. All of a sudden, I started feeling like it was pulling me in, like it was like a portal and trying to suck me into its like world. I could just feel. I'm like, holy crap! So I let go, and I felt like hopefully I gave us some healing. And then on the way back, once I got to the parking lot, I see another tree, and I'm like, he's sad. He's like sad. It's like all these people parked right next to him and walk by him, and he's like not like nobody pays attention to him. He shades their cars. He does all this work for them, drops stuff on them. I looked at him. I said, you're okay. I love you. I see you. And I think I felt, he felt a little bit better. But this was the time when Maui was on fire. It just started getting on fire. And that one, I think it's called a banyan tree on Maui, started burning. So I think that's what that one tree that I came across was. It was probably trying to send me like to help that one tree out there.
Yeah, and it is because all the trees are connected by their roots through Mother Earth and the ley lines. And it's so true because when you have broken ley lines, the trees along that ley line do get upset as well. And like you said, sometimes the trees just want to be acknowledged for what is happening. And it is such a true thing, because I have this tree where we live at the moment, and his name's Burns because he's been burnt a lot through bushfires. Oh, no. But he was so grumpy when I first met him, and I'd be like, "Hi, Burns." He's like, like he just wouldn't even talk to me. And then it just basically, he just was like, "Oh, actually, you're seeing me for who I am." I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And then once we did that, like these birds actually started nesting in his tree. Like he just had a much happier energy, and almost, if you look at trees, you can see faces, and his face went through them too. Like it was a really creepy, beautiful, happy smile. So
yeah, it's like we're going to work on that.
Yeah, exactly. But I love that extra tree bit. So if anyone's curious too, go hug a tree, because hugging it will help you, but it also will help them.
Exactly.
All right.
Thank you.
So thank you, John. Thank you for sharing that story too. I love it so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.